Do you know how emotional manipulation takes place, and how you could be emotionally manipulated? Emotional manipulation usually comes with the intent to use, control, or influence someone emotionally in order to induce the victim to act for their advantage. Emotional manipulation works both ways. It only works when someone tries to manipulate you, and you acquiesce other to do so. In daily life, interpersonal relationships often bring us a lot of troubles, and people often suffer from people-pleasing disorder. This can be manifest by trying to cater to others and worrying that your behavior makes people to dislike you. Beside people-pleasing disorder, we also expose ourselves to other forms of emotional manipulation, which sometimes unknowingly put ourselves under the control of others. Emotional manipulation tactics can take many forms, making it difficult to detect. You may notice that the emotional manipulators are influencing your emotions to prompt you to react or take action that are in favor with their intention, but not necessarily good for you, or sometimes even at your expenses. This video will brief you about how emotional manipulation could take place and how you can address it. There are 4 common types of emotional manipulation that could happen to us on a regular basis, which is verbal violence, positive negative reaction, expectation, and isolation. Constant criticism, raised voice, shouting, and threats are all forms of verbal violence, in which the perpetrator signals that conflict is on the verge of breaking out. In fact, verbal violence is a means that panic us and induce fear, so that the emotional manipulator can take over and make you obey their order and do their bidding. Often when we are fearful, we are unable to maintain our state and think rationally, because we are constantly being overwhelmed and intimidated by the feeling of fear. The emotional manipulator uses this chance to manipulate and direct you to behave the way he wants. Most people generally tend to avoid conflict, therefore, willing to do anything to avoid the confrontation by agreeing perpetrators' requests. What's worse is that the more the victim wants to avoid conflict, the more they can't avoid, until their bottom line is getting lower and lower. Besides, emotional manipulation could also take place by using positive negative reaction. People may unintentionally use positive negative reaction to manipulate you, because humans have emotions, so we may express our emotion naturally. However, emotional manipulators may also use positive negative reaction to manipulate your behavior by expressing goodwill or compliments when you do something that is favorable to their position. This is a way to encourage you to act in favor to their interest. Likewise, when you behave in a way that may harm their interest, they will display negative emotions such as silent treatment, resentment, anger, cold violence, etc. This positive negative response is a means to restrict your actions, causing you to consider their interests before doing everything, and even constrain you to put the interests of others before your own interests. They manipulate you emotionally by lifting you up and putting you down, using positive negative reaction. On the other hand, expectation can also be an obscure way that indirectly manipulate a person. Imagine if you were surrounded by someone who had very, very high expectations for you, and imagine you to be perfect. Don't you have to think carefully before every word you say? Because you know that if you don't meet the perfect standard in his eyes, he will be disappointed immediately. Unconsciously, you will make your actions and words go in the direction he expects. This is why high expectation often leads to huge disappointment. In fact, what you need to do is try to get rid of other people's expectations and listen to your inner voice. What you want yourself to be. That's what matters the most. Beside expectation, isolation could also be a way of manipulation. Perpetrator may try to use words or frame a situation as you against them, portraying you as being isolated, and you will become eager to join and assimilate into the majority, because nobody is willing to see themselves being isolated. As a result, the situation of isolation will induce your behavior to please them, which in turn will put you in a passive position to satisfy the demand of others in order to integrate to the majority. Most people can't stand themselves being seen as isolated, as this may make them feel weak. In fact, there's nothing bad with being seen as alone, since you don't need to waste your time and energy to socialize and entertain others. Victims are easily manipulated due to their lack of emotional awareness, confidence of self-worth, and taking others too seriously until they lose themselves. Emotional controllers often manipulate our emotions to trigger our reaction or behavior that will be favorable to them. To cope with emotional manipulation, you need to increase your self-awareness to maintain emotional distance. Excessive neglect of oneself can manifest as blurred self-awareness and no clear understanding of one's own identity and personality. Rather than listening to other people's opinions, try to listen to your inner voice. It's your inner voice that shapes your own personality and your color. Besides, you need to control your reaction to people's emotions and think rationally before you behave or react. When emotions begin to rise and fall, practice yourself to step out from your own perspective in the situation. Start examine the causes of the emotion and the purpose of the person who attempt to trigger your emotion. You can't stop someone from pushing the emotional button if you don't recognize it's happening. Therefore, you need to increase your self-awareness in order to maintain emotional distance. When others' emotions are running high at you, try to remain rational. Even if you are in a state of fear, you must work hard to adapt and overcome your fear in order to maintain rational thinking. In addition, overly emphasize the importance of others and underestimate the existence of yourself will cultivate your habit and tendency to please others, which will make you become obsessed with gaining recognition and acceptance from others. And this develop a habit where you don't have the courage to refuse or say no to other people's requests. If you pay too much attention to the feelings and the emotions of other people, you will habitually do things that are good for others, or things that others think are good. But sometimes these require sacrificing your own interests, because you care about others more than yourself. And it is more important for you to be recognized and be liked by people. Often when the victims refuse the requests of perpetrator, the emotional manipulator will make them feel sorry and guilty to the extent that it restricts victims' freedom to behave what you want. Being moral does not mean you have to be abducted by morality. You need to understand that you don't live a life to please others. If being true to yourself means you will be disliked by anyone, then it doesn't matter if you are disliked by everyone. Because not every behavior of yours can satisfy everyone. And you're not here to serve the interest of everyone. Cut off the chains of manipulation. Only when you are not afraid of what others will judge or say about you, then you will be able to live to your truest self. Understand that you are not here to sell ice cream and make everybody to like you, but to realize your own value. The amount of time and energy in a person's life are limited. Use them to realize your self-worth and achieve your ambitions, rather than spending your time and energy to seek approval from people. In short, putting your energy and attention on others can be a waste of time, because people are outside of your control. Since humans are constantly changing, and uncontrollable. It can be said that people's opinions and impressions are always changing along with the development of things. The only thing you can control is your reaction. In fact, most pressure comes from your reaction, which is your reaction to things and people. 99% of the problems can be solved by adjusting your reaction. Therefore, focus on what is controllable, not what's uncontrollable. Shut down your reactions to how others treat you, or how others position you, and start thinking what mattered to your life the most. Dedicated your time and energy to enhance your value, and focus on working yourself to success. Achievements can stay with you until the last day of your life. But people's likes may not last that long, because none of the relationship lasts. Nobody can accompany you through your life from the birth to the end. Don't you agree that it is more meaningful to pursue long-term achievements than pursuing short-term likes or favorability from people? It is your achievements that define your life with higher purpose and greater value.